5 Stolen Rings. Written by Tuesday Savage, produced by Trouble Twins Publishing. Chapter 1. Hero Joiglee glanced around Vesper's pizza joint, a cozy local eatery that had been decked out in festive holiday cheer. Twinkling lights wrapped around the booths, garlands draped over the counter, and a brightly lit Christmas tree stood near the entrance, its ornaments reflecting the warm glow of the restaurant's low-hanging lamps. Despite the cheerful ambiance, Hero felt his nerves coil tight as he adjusted the collar of his sweater. He was seated across from Dixie Helia, who was studying the menu with an ease that only heightened his own discomfort. Hero had invited her to lunch as a way of saying thanks for the parrots and their unexpected success at the Whetstone Solutions holiday Zoom meeting. Now that he was here, though, the words he'd rehearsed on the walk over seemed woefully inadequate, and well, just plain dumb and childish. "So," Dixie said, glancing up from her menu with a teasing smile, "are you always this awkward, or is it just when you're around me?" Hero blinked, caught off guard. Well, it's not every day I have lunch with someone who can wrangle fighting roosters, parrots, and a wayward event planner all at the same time." Dixie laughed, the sound warm and easy. "Well, I've got news for you, Joiglee. You're a lot harder to wrangle than those birds." Hero relaxed slightly, the tension in his chest easing as he managed a small smile. "I'll take that as a compliment." Before their conversation could continue, the jingling of bells above the door signaled a new arrival. A tall, wiry man with a shock of silver-streaked hair straight down the middle and an infectious grin strode in, wearing a black leather motorcycle jacket. He spotted Dixie immediately and waved. "Dix," the man called, heading straight for their table. "Fancy seeing you here." "DJ," Dixie replied, her tone fond but exasperated. "What brings you to Vespers?" "Picking up a pizza," DJ said, waving vaguely in the direction of the counter. "My turn to buy." His eyes flicked to Hero, curiosity sparking. "And who's this? You look familiar." "This is Hero Joiglee," Dixie said, introducing him with a hint of pride. "He's the guy behind the parrots being adopted." "Ah, the infamous Joiglee. Now I recognize you." DJ's grin widened as he extended a hand. "I saw the video from the French club's party. Hilarious stuff. You've got a knack for turning chaos into comedy." Hero shook his hand, a flush creeping up his neck. Thanks, I think." DJ pulled up a chair without asking and plopped down, clearly comfortable crashing their lunch. "So, Joiglee, tell me this. Are you willing to plan the Christmas charity treasure hunt this year? It could use a little ultimate Christmas experience magic to shake things up. Things have gotten a little boring and routine. What do you say?" Hero blinked. "The what now?" Dixie leaned back, crossing her arms with a smirk. "It's an annual thing DJ organizes through the radio station, a big treasure hunt for charity with holiday-themed clues and prizes." "Exactly," DJ said, nodding enthusiastically. "We get the whole town involved. It's the highlight of the season, and this year we're stepping it up. The local jewelry store's donating 5 gold rings as the grand prize." "That sounds ambitious," Hero said, glancing at Dixie. He could already feel the weight of expectation settling on his shoulders. "Why me, though?" DJ's grin turned sly. "Because I need someone to plan it. Someone besides me for a change. It needs fresh ideas. I was thinking, with your track record of unforgettable events." Hero held up a hand. "Oh no, I appreciate the vote of confidence, but I'm still recovering from the parrots. I'm not sure." Dixie kicked him lightly under the table. Hero yelped, more from surprise than pain, and shot her a questioning look. "Don't sell yourself short, Joiglee," Dixie said, her tone sweet but firm. "You'd be perfect for it." DJ clapped his hands together. "That's what I like to hear. Look, I'll make it easy for you. Come by the station in an hour, and we'll go over the details. You'll crush it." Hero opened his mouth to protest, but Dixie gave him a pointed look. He sighed, resigned. "All right, I'll meet you there." "Perfect." DJ stood, slapping Hero on the back. "See you soon." As DJ left, Hero turned to Dixie, raising an eyebrow. "Was the kick really necessary?" Dixie grinned. "Absolutely. You've got this, Joiglee. Trust me." Hero leaned back, letting out a long breath. "Why do I feel like I've just signed up for more chaos?" "Because you probably have," Dixie said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But hey, it wouldn't be the holidays without a little mayhem." Chapter 2. Hero arrived at the radio station an hour later, a bundle of nerves. This charity event sounded like a big deal. He couldn't afford to turn it down, and he certainly couldn't afford to screw it up. He needed this to go well. If the Whetstone party was any indication, maybe things were looking up. He parked the van behind the building, walked around to the front door, and went inside to meet DJ. The building was small but festive, with garlands strung along the front desk and a miniature Christmas tree perched precariously on the corner of the receptionist's workspace. Holiday music played softly over the speakers, the cheery tune at odds with Hiro's growing sense of impending doom. DJ was waiting for him and greeted him with his signature grin, then led Hiro into a cluttered office stacked with papers, coffee mugs, and boxes of Christmas decorations. A whiteboard on one wall bore a hastily sketched map of Auroraquest, dotted with red X's and cryptic scribbling. "Welcome to HQ," DJ said, sweeping an arm around the room. "Ignore the mess. We're in full holiday mode, and organization isn't exactly my strong suit." Hiro chuckled nervously, taking a seat in a battered office chair. "So, what exactly do you need from me? It looks like you have everything under control." DJ grabbed a marker and pointed to the whiteboard. "This is the basic layout for the treasure hunt. We typically hide clues around town leading to different prizes, with the big finale being the 5 gold rings. We've got a lot of regulars who participate every year, so the clues need to be fresh, and I am stale and out of ideas. You're the creative mastermind now. We need to make sure the experience is worth the ticket price." Hiro rubbed the back of his neck. "Sounds simple enough. And the rings?" "Ah, the pièce de résistance," DJ said dramatically. He opened a desk drawer and pulled out a velvet box. Inside, 5 gleaming gold rings sparkled under the fluorescent lights. "Wow," Hiro said, leaning forward. "Those are actually really impressive." "They'd better be," DJ said, snapping the box shut. "Donated by the local jewelry store. They're worth a small fortune, which is why we'll be keeping them in the safe until the big day. I just picked them up, which is why they are still in my desk." Hiro nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle more heavily on his shoulders. "And I assume I'll place them in the final hiding spot?" "Exactly," DJ said. "The morning of the event, you'll swing by here, grab the rings, and hide them right before the treasure hunt starts. Simple, right?" Hiro gave a weak laugh. "Sure, simple." Over the next few days, Hiro threw himself into planning the treasure hunt. He designed riddles and puzzles, coordinated with local businesses to host clues, and even enlisted Dixie to set up an adoption booth for the shelter at the starting point of the event. Even Myrtle Barris had agreed to help by handing out mugs of cider at the end to warm up the hunters. By the morning of the hunt, everything was in place, or so Hiro thought. He arrived at the radio station bright and early, humming under his breath as he parked in the lot. The air was crisp, the ground dusted with fresh snow that sparkled in the morning sun. He was early, so he thought he would do the rounds and check the booths. He waved at Myrtle, then walked over and gave her a hand to unload the crock-pots and crates of cider from her truck. "You know, you're not so bad when you're not destroying my orchard," Myrtle said as Hiro carried a stack of crates to her table. She pinched his cheek the way his grandma used to, and he was suddenly homesick. "Thanks, Miss Barris. I am sorry about the tree. That wasn't supposed to happen," Hiro told her. Myrtle waved his apology off. "Shh, if Roy's stupefied bird hadn't broken that tree when it did, there's no telling how bad that fungal infection would have been in the rest of the orchard. In reality, you did me a favor. That tree was sickly for a long time, and I was too blind and attached to see it. So, thank you. Now scoot along. I've got this under control now." "Yes, ma'am," Hiro said, setting the last crate down. He was smiling from ear to ear when he stopped at Dixie's booth. "What's got you looking like the cat ate the canary?" Dixie asked the instant she saw him. A large basset hound jumped up and bellowed at Hiro as he got close, then ran out to jump up on him, almost knocking him over. "Down, Barkley. Sorry. He seems to like you. He doesn't usually jump on people like that," Dixie said and tugged at the hound's leash to pull him off Hiro. "I don't mind. I like dogs." Hiro bent down and rubbed Barkley's ears. The dog's eyes rolled back in his head and he moaned with pleasure. Hiro laughed, then stood up to talk to Dixie. "You have everything you need?" "Oh yeah, The treasure kits are in a box under the table, and 2 girl guides are on the way to help with the sign-in sheets. I think this is going to be the best one yet. Don't get ahead. Hero was interrupted by an eardrum-piercing "a woo" from Barkley and almost fell as the leash was snapped across his legs before being ripped from Dixie's hands. Barkley! No! Get back here! Dixie shouted after the running hound. Barkley ignored her. He had his nose to the ground, following a scent like his life depended on it, and baying his lungs out. His voice rang out, and the entire carnival atmosphere of the charity event paused as everyone turned to see what was happening. "I'll get him," Hero said, already running after the basset. Barkley led him on a fast chase through the town square, weaving around the stalls, nose stuck to the ground, baying the whole time. "For such a fat dog with short chubby legs, he can certainly move," Hero grunted as he ran after him, dodging people. Hero finally caught up with him at the donut booth. The vendor tossed him a donut hole, interrupting whatever mission Barkley had been on. "Thanks," Hero panted as he stooped to pick up the leash. He reached into his pocket for his wallet, but the vendor held up a hand. "On the house, nothing like a bit of good clean entertainment." He smiled fondly at Barkley and tossed him another treat. "Here, take a bag." "Thanks," Hero said, taking the bag of fresh donuts. To Barkley, he said, "You, come with me." Barkley barked a happy woof and wagged his tail, then trotted obediently behind Hero all the way back to Dixie. After Hero returned the recalcitrant dog, he checked his watch. He better get a move on. He would be late if he didn't get back to the radio station to get the rings right now. He jogged back to the station and went inside. DJ was bustling to the sound booth, a coffee cup in one hand and a clipboard in the other. "Joiglee." "Right on time," DJ said, waving him over. "The rings are still in the safe in the back office. You know the combination. I've got a few things to finish here before I head out to start the show. Just call if you need help." "Sure thing," Hero nodded and made his way down the hall to the office. He opened the closet where the safe was kept, expecting to find the velvet box nestled inside after he fiddled with the combination to get the finicky thing open. He hoped he wouldn't have to get DJ to open for him again. Instead, he found the safe door ajar and the interior empty. His stomach dropped. No, Hero muttered, crouching down to inspect the safe. "This can't be happening." He raced back to DJ, who was chatting with a technician in the main booth. "DJ," Hero called, his voice tight with panic. "What is it?" Hero went to him and said in a quiet voice, "The rings, they're gone." DJ's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. "What do you mean gone?" "The safe's empty," Hero said, running a hand through his hair. "Someone took them." DJ's face paled. "You've got to be kidding me. It's no joke. You better come and see for yourself." DJ bolted from the room, Hero on his heels. DJ stared at the empty safe with the same look of sick horror Hero knew had been on his own when he'd seen the door open and the rings were gone. "I'll call Barry," DJ said, his phone already at his ear. Minutes later, Officer Barry Hinkle arrived, his expression as gruff as ever. He examined the safe with a practiced eye, then turned to Hero. "Joiglee," Barry said, crossing his arms, "you wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you? I know you like to partake in illegal activity from time to time." Hero threw up his hands. "What? No. I just got here. And I'm from the city. I don't know anything about chickens." Barry narrowed his eyes but didn't push further. "All right, let's check the security footage." They gathered in the booth as the technician pulled up the video feed. Sure enough, a figure in a balaclava appeared on the screen, breaking into the office in the early hours of the morning. They worked quickly, cracking the safe with practiced precision before disappearing into the snow-covered parking lot. "Great," Barry muttered. "No prints, no tracks. Maintenance cleared the snow before sunrise. I'll dust for prints, but I'm not holding my breath." He wore gloves. Hero's head spun as he tried to process what this meant for the treasure hunt. "What do we do now?" DJ clapped a hand on his shoulder. "We improvise, Joiglee. The show must go on. Draw some ring doodles on Post-its or something. Just make it work." Hero groaned but nodded. "Fine, but you owe me for this." As Barry headed out to investigate further, Dixie appeared in the doorway, her eyes sharp with concern. "What's going on?" Hero hesitated, then pulled her aside. "The rings were stolen." Her forehead crinkled with surprise as her eyebrows shot up. "What? How?" Hero explained quickly, swearing her to secrecy. Dixie's expression shifted from shock to determination. "All right," she said. "I think I can help, but first, you need to get the hunt started on time. Meet me at the shelter booth after the kickoff." Hero nodded, grateful for her calm in the face of chaos. As he grabbed a stack of Post-its and set off to improvise the first clue, he couldn't shake the feeling that the day was about to get a whole lot more complicated. Chapter 3. Hero worked quickly, sketching crude doodles of gold rings on bright yellow Post-its and pinning them to a pile of gold-colored hats that DJ had pulled out from a stash of promotional giveaways. As absurd as it felt, this makeshift solution was better than canceling the event. The treasure hunt was a cherished tradition in Auroraquest, and Hero wasn't about to be the guy who ruined Christmas. He stuffed the hats in a bag and hurried from the station. He had just over an hour to put the hats in their hiding spots. He hoped that they would be big enough. A knitted winter hat was slightly larger than a small ring box. He shook his head to get rid of the negative thoughts. He would make it work. He had no other choice. He got the hats hidden in record time and hurried to the starting line in the town square, where a crowd had already gathered. The square buzzed with festive energy, kids clutching candy canes, caramel apples, and popcorn strings. Couples were sipping hot chocolate. Hero was sure he saw someone tip the contents of a flask into a mug. Families were snapping photos in front of the massive Christmas tree and admiring the antique decorations that had been used by Auroraquest for decades. The aroma of roasted chestnuts and cinnamon wafted through the air, almost masking Hero's rising anxiety. DJ stood on a small stage near the center, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, his voice echoing across the square, "welcome to the annual Auroraquest Christmas Charity Treasure Hunt. Are you ready to find some holiday cheer?" The crowd cheered enthusiastically, and Hero felt a pang of relief. If he could just keep the energy up, maybe no one would notice the missing rings, at least for now. Hero slipped onto the stage behind DJ and gave him a quick thumbs up. DJ beamed and gave him a thumbs up back. The prizes, such as they were, had been hidden, and everything was ready. As DJ launched into a dramatic explanation of the treasure hunt rules, Hero scanned the crowd for Dixie. She was at her booth, surrounded by excited families cooing over the adoptable animals. Barkley, the basset hound, sat at her feet, his floppy ears twitching as he sniffed the air. DJ wrapped up his speech with a flourish. "On your marks, get set, hunt." The last word was accompanied by a starter pistol. The crowd erupted into motion, treasure hunters scattering in all directions as they followed their first clues. Hero hopped off the stage and headed straight for Dixie's booth, where she was handing out sign-up sheets for potential adopters. "Hero," Dixie called out as he approached, "you look like you've been chased by a reindeer herd. What's the plan?" Hero ran a hand through his hair. "Post-it note rings. It's a disaster, but it's something. DJ's on damage control and Barry's following leads. What's your idea?" Dixie glanced at Barkley, who wagged his tail enthusiastically. "Take him with you. If there's any scent left at the safe, he might be able to track it. He's got a nose like a bloodhound. Well, close enough, and he seems to like you." Hero blinked. "You're serious? I thought he just liked donuts." Dixie smirked. "He likes food, period, but trust me, he's got skills. Just keep him focused, and you might get lucky." Barkley let out a low bay, as if eager to prove his worth, and bounced on his front feet, wagging his tail. Hero sighed, grabbing the leash Dixie offered. "All right, boy, let's see what you've got." Dixie gave Hero a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "You've got this, Joiglee. Barkley and I believe in you." Hero muttered a quick thanks and led Barkley toward the radio station, where Barry was waiting. The basset hound trotted beside him, his nose already twitching as if he understood the mission. When they reached the station, Barry raised an eyebrow at the sight of Barkley. "What's this, your backup?" "Dixie's idea," Hero said, holding up the leash. "He's got a good nose." Barry shrugged. "Well, he can't do worse than us so far. Let's see what he's got." Hero led Barkley into the office, crouching near the safe. "All right, Barkley, find the rings." Barkley sniffed the air, then the floor around the safe. His ears perked up, and with a loud bay he pulled Hero toward the door. "Looks like he's on to something," Barry said, following them outside. Barkley's nose stayed glued to the ground as he led them through the snowy parking lot, past the cleared pathways, and out into the street. Hero stumbled as the dog picked up speed, tugging him along with surprising strength. "Barkley, slow down." Hero yelped, but the hound was on a mission. They followed Barkley's trail through town, dodging pedestrians and Christmas shoppers. At one point, Barkley veered into a hot dog stand, nearly toppling it over as he tried to snatch a snack. Hero apologized profusely, handing the vendor a crumpled bill as Barry helped right the cart. "Keep him on task, Joiglee," Barry said with a sigh, adjusting his hat. Hero tightened his grip on the leash. "All right, Barkley, focus. Rings, not hot dogs." Barkley gave a deep, mournful bay, but he sniffed the ground again and resumed his search. Hero tightened his grip on Barkley's leash as they made their way through the bustling town square. The basset hound's nose glued to the ground like a magnet. Barkley's tail wagged furiously, his excitement palpable, and Hero felt an uneasy mix of hope and dread. Barry trailed behind, his arms crossed and his face a mix of skepticism and mild amusement. "All right, Barkley," Hero muttered under his breath. "Find the rings, not another hot dog." But it seemed Barkley had other ideas. As they crossed the snowy square, Hero suddenly felt the leash jerk violently. Barkley had caught a fresh scent and was off like a cannonball, dragging Hero along like a water skier on a snow-covered lake. Hero stumbled, his sneakers slipping on the icy ground. He knew he should have bought winter boots. "Barkley, slow down," Hero yelped, barely managing to keep his balance. The hound paid no heed. He barreled straight through a group of children gathered around a cocoa stand. One of the kids, a red-cheeked boy in a puffy coat, held a steaming cup of cocoa in one hand and a half-eaten hot dog in the other. Barkley's trajectory was as predictable as it was unstoppable. "Hey, mister, watch your—" the boy started to say, but Barkley had already snatched the hot dog in one fluid motion, gulping it down without breaking stride. "Sorry," Hero shouted over his shoulder, his voice strained as he was yanked forward like a kite in a windstorm. "I'll buy you another one." The boy watched in wide-eyed shock as Barkley and Hero disappeared around the corner, his now bare bun dangling in his hand. Barry, catching up at a slower but steady pace, smirked. "That dog's got priorities, I'll give him that." The chase continued, Barkley zigzagging through the square with Hero in tow. The basset hound's next victim was a vendor stacking trays of gingerbread cookies at a holiday market stall. Barkley's leash caught the edge of the table as he zoomed past, sending cookies flying like a sugary snowstorm. Barkley stopped on a dime and began snuffling up cookies faster than the eye could follow. Hero skidded to a stop just in time to see the vendor's horrified expression. "Really sorry," Hero called, fumbling to scoop up a few of the fallen cookies before Barkley took off again. "I'll pay for those later." Barry jogged up, shaking his head. "If you live through this, Joiglee, I'll be amazed." Just as Hero thought things couldn't get any worse, Barkley veered toward the large pen set up near the square's main stage. Inside, a group of live reindeer grazed peacefully under a string of twinkling lights. Barkley, apparently deciding they were a threat to the case, let out an ear-splitting bay and charged straight at the pen. "Barkley, no," Hero shouted, digging in his heels, but it was too late. Hero was jerked off his feet and dragged through the snow, face first. He could hear Barry's deep laughter behind him. The hound plowed into the pen's gate, knocking it ajar. The reindeer, startled by the commotion, began to trot around in confusion, their bells jingling wildly. One particularly jittery reindeer bolted out of the pen, nearly trampling Hero as it galloped past. Hero lost his grip on the leash, and Barkley ran amuck in the pen, barking at the scattered reindeer. "Look, it's Max," Hero heard a little girl shout with excitement. "I hope we see the Grinch." Hero groaned and got to his feet as the handler ran up, waving his arms frantically. "Stop that dog, and someone catch Dasher." Hero ran after the dog and after diving over a hay bale to cut him off, managed to grab hold of Barkley's leash with both hands. Climbing to his feet and planting his feet firmly in the snow, he glared at Barkley. "I'm so sorry," he panted to the reindeer handler. "He's on an important mission." Barry, now doubled over with laughter, took a moment to compose himself before helping corral the escaped reindeer. "Mission, huh? At this rate, we'll need to add wrangling wildlife to your resume. Maybe Dixie should be your sidekick." Hero grimaced and tied Barkley to a sturdy post while he helped catch reindeer. It didn't take long. Once the handler got a bucket of grain from his truck and whistled, they came running back, and he tossed the feed into a pan. "Quick now, we've got to get the panels up before they bolt again." Hero and Barry helped set the portable pen up again, with Barkley safely on the outside. A kid was feeding him popcorn, so his interest in the reindeer was severely diminished for the moment. With the reindeer back in their pen, Hero untied the dog and got him to refocus on the trail. By now, Hero's coat was dusted with snow, his pants were soaked from multiple falls, and his dignity was in tatters. But he didn't have time to worry about that now. Barkley began to bay again. "I think he's close," Barry said. "How can you be so sure?" Hero asked as they ran behind the chubby dog. "Can't you hear it in his voice? He's belling now." Hero shook his head. "It's all just barking to me." Barry grinned. "He's close, you'll see. With any luck, we'll finish our hunt before the charity hunters finish theirs." "If you say so," Hero said, not sure if he could believe Barry. Finally, Barkley stopped abruptly in front of the jewelry store, his nose pressed to the ground. He let out a triumphant bay, pawing at the snowy sidewalk as if to say, "Here, this is it." Hero and Barry exchanged skeptical glances. "You think he's onto something, or is this just where the hot dog scent ran out?" Barry asked, crossing his arms. "Maybe he just latched onto the smell of the rings and not the thief." Hero sighed, his breath fogging in the cold air. "At this point, we might as well check. Worst case, we buy him another donut and have to go back to the safe and try again." Barry nodded, and the two men approached the store's glass door, Barkley wagging his tail proudly and woofing up at him. Hero still had his doubts, but as he looked down at the hound's eager expression, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this chaotic adventure was about to pay off. "This can't be right," Barry muttered as they approached the glass storefront. "Why would the thief come back here?" Hero shrugged. "Maybe they stashed the rings somewhere?" They stepped inside, Barkley immediately tugging them toward the back room. The owner, a harmless, nervous-looking man in a sweater vest with a cardigan over it, greeted them with a forced smile. "Officer Hinkle," the man said, his voice tight. "What brings you here?" There was a sheen of sweat on the man's forehead, and his eyes kept darting around the store, bouncing from Hero to Barry to Barkley and back, non-stop. Barry raised an eyebrow. "Just following a lead. Mind if we take a look around?" The owner hesitated, then nodded. "Of course, go ahead." "Great, you come with us," Barry said. Barkley led them to a storage area in the back, baying excitedly. Hero's heart pounded as the dog pawed at a locked cabinet. Barry tried the handle, but it was secure. "Do you have the key for this?" Barry asked the owner. The man's face went pale. Yes, but..." Barry cut him off. "Get it, now." Reluctantly, the owner retrieved the key. When Barry opened the cabinet, the velvet box containing the rings sat in plain sight. Well, Barry said, pulling out the box. "Care to explain this?" The owner stammered, his excuses falling apart under Barry's sharp glare. It didn't take long for him to confess. He had planned to melt down the rings to cover his mounting debts and claim the insurance payout. With a sigh, Barry snapped a pair of handcuffs onto the man's wrists. "You're under arrest for theft and attempted insurance fraud." As Barry led the man out, Hero looked down at Barkley, who wagged his tail proudly. "Good job, buddy," Hero said, scratching behind his ears. "You really are worth your weight in gold." Barkley let out a triumphant bay, and for the first time since discovering the rings were missing, Hero felt like things might actually turn out all right. As Barry escorted the jewelry store owner out, Hero crouched down next to Barkley, the triumphant basset hound still wagging his tail like he just solved the case of the century. Hero scratched behind the dog's floppy ears, smiling for what felt like the first time in hours. "Barkley," Hero said, his tone warm, "you're the real hero today. If it weren't for you, those rings would have been toast, literally." Barkley barked once, as if to say, "You're welcome." Barry returned after handing off the now handcuffed store owner to another officer waiting outside. He crossed his arms, his expression a mix of exasperation and amusement. "Well, Joiglee, I've got to admit your dog," he gestured to Barkley, who was currently licking Hero's face with gusto, "actually pulled through. Never thought I'd see the day." Hero grinned. "Dixie was right. He's got a nose for trouble, and apparently for justice, too." Barry rolled his eyes but didn't argue. Instead, he handed Hero the velvet box. Here, you'd better get these to DJ before the treasure hunt wraps up. The whole town's waiting for their big moment, and if you don't want some explaining to do about why the prizes were false advertising, you better get a move on. Barry smiled. I wouldn't want to have to arrest you again. Hero accepted the box gingerly, his hands trembling slightly from a mix of relief and exhaustion. Thanks, Barry, and sorry about the hot dog stand, and the reindeer, and the... Barry cut him off with a wave of his hand. Save it, Joiglee. Just get moving before something else goes sideways. Back in the town square, Hero hurried to the stage, Barkley trotting happily at his side with his head held high, oblivious to the chaos he'd left in his wake. DJ was mid-broadcast, his voice booming over the speakers as he narrated the progress of the treasure hunt. And it looks like Team Jingle Bells is in the lead, folks, but it's still anyone's game. Remember, the 5 gold rings are still out there, waiting to be found. DJ paused as Hero waved him down, holding up the velvet box like a trophy. He'll be back after a short break. DJ put some Christmas music on and hopped off the stage to meet Hero. You found them. You bet, Hero said as he handed the box over to DJ, breathless but grinning. The 5 gold rings are officially back in play. DJ opened the box to reveal the sparkling rings, then slapped him on the back, grinning from ear to ear. Joiglee, you've done it again. Care to share the story? Hero glanced down at Barkley, who was now soaking up the applause like a seasoned celebrity. Let's just say, Hero said with a chuckle, we had a little help from the best nose in Auroraquest. I'll tell you later. Barkley let out a triumphant bay, and DJ laughed. Chapter 4. As the treasure hunt wrapped up, DJ took to the stage once more, microphone in hand, to announce the winners of the coveted 5 gold rings. The crowd buzzed with anticipation, treasure hunters clutching their findings, notes, small prizes, and various mementos from the hunt. One guy was proudly wearing one of the golden hats Hero had been forced to sub in for the rings. He'd even left the stupid doodle pinned on the front, like some kind of merit badge. At least one lucky treasure hunter was going to get the top prize. Hero scanned the crowd but didn't see any other golden hats. All right, folks, DJ's voice boomed across the square. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Who's ready to hear who found the 5 gold rings? The crowd cheered, their excitement palpable. Hero, standing off to the side with Dixie and Barkley, felt giddy with nervous anticipation. Despite the chaos earlier, he hoped the improvised ring tokens had done their job. Okay, everyone who found a golden hat, come on up here. You, sir. DJ pointed to the man Hero had seen wearing the knitted hat. Yes, you, get up here. You won a ring. The man made his way through the crowd and hopped up onto the stage, shaking DJ's hand. I honestly thought it was a joke. Nope. As you can imagine, it was too risky to put the real rings out. Now, you have a nice hat and some bling to go with it, DJ told him. Hero scanned the crowd. The kid Barkley had stolen the hot dog from was brought up to the stage by his mom. Casey has 3 hats, the lady said, pushing the kid up the step to stand beside DJ and the other winner. DJ glanced at his clipboard. Now let's see here. We have, wait a minute, 2 winners? The guy wearing the hat said with a grin. Yeah, I got 2 hats. He pulled a second one from his coat pocket. The crowd murmured in confusion. DJ scratched his head and glanced at Hero, who gave a sheepish shrug. Looks like only 2 people found the rings, DJ announced, trying to sound upbeat. Can we give the lucky winners a big round of applause? DJ leaned into the mic. Congratulations to our winners. Let's hear it for them. This couldn't have happened at a better time, the man wearing the hat said, smiling from ear to ear. He held the rings up. Honey, we got the wedding rings. The crowd clapped and cheered, though the excitement was somewhat subdued. Hero winced, catching a few side eyes from people who had clearly expected something a little more grand. Then, a man in a Santa hat near the front of the crowd shouted, Hey, I found one of those hats, but I thought it was just junk. Gave it to that kid to play with. Yeah, another voice chimed in. I saw one on a bench and left it. Looked like a prank. A ripple of murmurs and complaints spread through the crowd. Hero's stomach sank as more people began voicing similar grievances. Those hats weren't labeled or anything. Who thought those hats with the bad doodles were a good idea? I bet the winners didn't even follow the clues. They just got lucky. Before DJ could regain control, a scuffle broke out as a man leaped onto the stage and attacked the guy wearing the hat. Hero jumped in and pulled the kid out of harm's way. The boy's mom hustled to the stage and Hero quickly sent them out of the crowd. All 3 rings safely in hand. "Hey mister, you don't have to buy me another hot dog," Casey told him, beaming at the ring boxes. "Good to know, thanks," Hero told him, distracted by the fight. The 2 men, both red-faced and waving their arms, were arguing loudly. "That hat I gave you doesn't count," one man yelled, jabbing a finger at the hat the other was wearing. "I found it fair and square. You gave it to me, so it's mine now," the other man shot back, clutching the hat defensively. "Finders, keepers." The argument quickly escalated, moving from the stage into the crowd and the surrounding vendors. The 2 men began shoving each other, knocking over a tray of roasted chestnuts in the process. The vendors shouted in protest, while the crowd pressed closer, eager for a better view of the commotion. "Uh-oh," DJ muttered, eyeing the growing chaos. "This could get ugly." Hero groaned. "Of course, why wouldn't it?" Just as the shouting reached a fever pitch, a burly man in a black sweater with Salty's Pub embroidered on the chest stepped forward. Hero recognized him as Blake, the bouncer from the local bar. All right," Blake bellowed, stepping between the 2 men and holding them apart like they were unruly kids on a playground. "Knock it off. This is a charity event, not a boxing match. It's not his fault you thought the hats were a joke and gave your golden ticket to a nice ring away." The men grumbled, but backed down, their faces still flushed with anger. Blake crossed his arms and gave them both a stern look. "Apologize to each other, now, before I make you kiss and make up." The 2 men exchanged reluctant mutters of "sorry," which seemed to satisfy Blake. He turned to the crowd and raised his voice. "Let's all calm down and remember why we're here, raising money for a good cause. No more fighting, got it?" "Sure," they both grumbled. "Now, to thank him for giving you the winning hat, you're going to buy him a beer and put this behind us," Blake said, ushering them to the beer tent. The crowd murmured their agreement, and a few people even clapped and joined them. DJ cleared his throat, his voice cutting through the lingering tension. "Well, that was festive. Let's move on to the rest of the prize presentations, shall we?" After the winners were announced and the rings awarded, Hero returned to Dixie's booth, the adrenaline finally wearing off. Dixie greeted him with a warm smile, Barkley wagging his tail furiously as she knelt to give him a treat. "So," Dixie said, straightening up, "how'd it go?" Hero leaned toward Dixie with a sigh. "Next year, remind me to invest in actual tokens, or better yet, avoid treasure hunts entirely." Dixie grinned, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "But where's the fun in that?" Hero groaned, but couldn't help smiling as Barkley barked his approval. Chaos might follow him wherever he went, but at least it always made for a memorable story. Hero handed her a mug of cider, which she took and gratefully wrapped her hands around. Mission accomplished. Thanks to Barkley, he saved the day. Dixie's grin widened as she patted the dog on the head. "I told you he was special. Guess you'll have to adopt him now." Barkley woofed at Hero and jumped up on him. Hero hesitated, then smiled, rubbing the dog's ears. "You know what? I think I will." Dixie's laughter rang out, and she surprised Hero with a quick peck on the cheek. "I knew you had it in you, Joiglee." Hero blinked, stunned, but managed to grin. "Well, I couldn't have done it without you, or Barkley." As the town square began to empty, Hero looked around at the festive lights, the happy families, and the wagging tail of his newest partner in crime. For once, the chaos had led to something good, and Hero couldn't help but feel like things were finally falling into place. If you enjoyed this story, please consider buying a copy, like, subscribe, and check the playlist for the next episode. Thanks for listening. Tuesday Savage.